Hello, and thanks for joining us for this episode of the 2022 Cocodona podcast series hosted by Aravaipa Racing team member Brianna Grigsby. Brianna, who will be running Cocodona for the first time this year, will be sitting down to chat with Drew Frehs, Jeff Garmire, and Peter Mortimer. Drew Frehs is a Flagstaff-based ultra runner and member of the Aravaipa Racing team. Drew ran and finished the inaugural Cocodona 250 in under 90 hours and finished 9th overall. Drew has a busy year scheduled and is signed up for the Wasatch 100-mile race in Utah this coming September. Peter Mortimer is also a Flagstaff-based ultra runner and is also a member of the Aravaipa Racing team. Pete is coming off of a big win at this year's HURT 100-mile race in Hawaii. He is also signed up for Western States. Pete finished Cocodona last year in second place overall in just under 77 hours. Jeff Garmire is a thru hiker and ultra runner out of Montana. Although Jeff has only completed a handful of ultramarathons, he is no stranger to longer distance efforts. Jeff has hiked and completed the Great Western Loop as well as the Triple Crown calendar year. Jeff holds several long trail FKTs, including the unsupported Colorado Trail and the unsupported Arizona Trail FKT. Last year, Jeff ran and completed the inaugural Cocodona 250 in just under 95 hours and will be returning this year to toe the line again.
So welcome to the Cocodona podcast. It's great to have you, Peter, Drew, Jeff. Thanks for joining. I want to start off with jumping into asking each of you why you decided to run Cocodona 250 last year and what your race experience was like. And when we talk to Jeff, we will also learn that he is running Cocodona 250 again this year. So yeah, do you want to start us off, Jeff? What made you decide to run Cocodona last year?
I don't know. I had just done worse than I anticipated at Barkley, and then had some training, and then heard about this Cocodona race and decided to sign up. My racing experience was one pretty difficult 50K, so I had the knowledge of how to run ultras. And I decided that, hey, maybe like 250 miles is in my wheelhouse, and showed up with no idea how to race or anything and just had an awesome time figuring it out along the way.
And you're coming back again this year, so you must have had a pretty decent time overall.
I'm a really slow learner, so I don't think I've accepted that I ran it last year. And I just want to get this like whole drop bag and crew thing right. I didn't even think about bringing a crew last year, and now I think I've convinced somebody. So it's going to be a whole new experience on the same course, which is kind of cool.
Totally.
Always fun with more people. You get the party going.
Yeah, exactly. And like, let's 10x the number of beers I had during the race last year, and it's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a really good time.
Absolutely.
Peter,
what about you? What made you decide to run Cocodona, and what was your experience like?
It was a mistake. No, I like the 200 distances, and this was a little longer than the other 200s I had done, but it was right in my backyard, so it's like, how could I not? And then just finish down the street from my house is pretty nice. So that was about, that was my whole mantra, during the race was like, just got to get home. So, but one's good for me. I revisited the training run recently, and, most of the beginning of that race I had blacked out. And after seeing it firsthand again, I'm like, no, I'm good. That's plenty.
Anything else you want to comment on how your race went, apart from that first section being maybe something you didn't want to remember?
I had a really good time. I just tried to, take, the first part was hard for everybody. And after that, I just tried to recoup and, get my shit together. And then, once I saw Drew over at, take a wrong turn over at Mingus Mountain, it got me reinvigorated. Do you remember that when I was drinking the beer? But I got to go up Mingus with them, and then after that, it just kind of fell into place. I mean, these races, you're out there for days. They take time.
Yeah. How about you, Drew? What
Sorry.
made you sign up for Cocodona, and what was your experience like?
Yeah, well, my experience prior to this was exactly two 100 milers, both in Phoenix that were kind of like flat, like Javelina and Coldwater Rumble. But I think the draw was kind of like the same to any new distance. Um, like, I don't know, it kind of blows your mind a bit. And you're like, whoa, can I do that? What's that all about? Like, I don't know, just getting hyped on something new and wanting to try and give it a shot. My experience was all over the board. Like, I really enjoyed the first 50K that was like pretty gnarly. And then like immediately after that, after leaving Crown King, kind of on a fence line that I guess isn't on the course for this year, I had like one of my lowest lows of the entire race at maybe mile 42. And then yeah, it was just kind of this crazy ebb and flow from there, like highs and lows and extreme exhaustion, and then like the crazy high of finishing, like getting back home in Flagstaff. I think I was drawn to a course that I lived in Prescott, Sedona, and currently live in Flagstaff, and was really excited at the opportunity to start down on the Black Canyon course and go up through like the Crown King Scramble course and like through like Whiskey Basin, that course, and Prescott, just kind of tying together all these really amazing sections of single track and then with big wide open spaces in between. It was kind of hard to say no to, even though I arguably didn't have the experience to back it up. Just wanted to try, and I'm super glad I did.
I'm kind of there with you, Drew. I have done two 100 milers. One of them was Javelina, and the other was Rio del Lago, which also doesn't have very much climbing. So, yeah, just jumping in.
That's awesome.
It's going to be
You're
fun.
going to have a great time.
It's going to be fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of things.
It's like the same as 100 miles. You just keep going.
Yep.
Just run 100
I love
miles.
that.
Then there's only a little over 100 miles left. You're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, there you
Just
go.
chunks.
Halfway
100
done.
mile chunks. Yeah. Well, not
Do you
even,
guys-
but yeah, there.
Do you guys remember on course last year, they had like the little placards that said 100 miles, like keep going, 200 miles, like
Yeah.
you're almost there. And it's just like super defeating. You're like, what, 2 days in and you see a sign that's like 200 miles, keep going.
Yeah.
And it's just
I
like,
thought they were brilliant. I wanted to like high five the person who did that because it was just like, this is hilarious.
I think when you get into Flagstaff and you still have roughly like 50 miles or so to go, and then it's knowing, especially when you live there, you're like, how are you going to get 50 miles out of this? Just running around town, and then like halfway through, you're like, oh my God, just drags on. I mean, in the best way possible, but
So your
finishing
mantra
up
of
Golden.
your mantra of running home from Fort Tyho, why didn't you just like take the beeline then? It'd be a lot quicker.
it would be a ballsy move, just like cut course right at the end.
No, just like I just wanted to run home. I did it. I'm good. I
Yeah.
already did over 200 miles. Yeah, you get to outskirts of Flagstaff, 200 miles in, and it's like, geez, okay. Somehow we're gonna just circle the whole thing before finally entering Flagstaff.
Yep.
And then they're going to
I
put
had
that Eldon climb right at the end is a little
You
bit
don't feel a
masochistic.
thing on your body at that point. It's not even a big deal, that climb. You just
Yeah.
don't even know what's going on.
going down though, going up felt good. Going
Mhm.
down, I don't know about you guys, but for me, that was going down Eldon was it was rough. Like, but going up is like a break on your like all the flat kind of running you've been doing since Fort Tuthill,
Mm-hmm.
which I highly recommend everybody follows my example and has a pizza pizza waiting at Fort Tuthill.
I was
was-
there at Fort Tuttle when you put down that pizza. I was so impressed. I was like, Drew just smashed a pizza in 2 minutes, and then he asked me to go get him a bowl of oatmeal,
Yeah.
and he ate that too.
I forgot about
was-
the oatmeal.
That was incredible.
Yeah, definitely knock a pizza out at Tuthill for the win.
Do you guys want to comment on what was the hardest part of the course? I know, Drew, you mentioned running down from Eldon was kind of tough. Were there other sections that you think were among the hardest for you?
I guess we'd want to distinguish what between like physically hard and mentally hard. I had like a super rough time, I guess. was it maybe the second night? I think maybe the second night, after having not slept, I kept like kind of dozing off, and then like getting super cold just because I would like pass out in shorts, um, like up at maybe 6,000 feet, and be asleep for like 10 minutes and then just get super, super, super cold, and be like shivering when I woke up and like wasn't super coherent. Like by the time I got to Cinder Pit, coming into Cinder Pit was probably like the roughest stretch for me. So that was like the maybe between like, I don't know, 1 a.m. and sunrise on the second night. I had a really hard time. I had no pacer, just trying to be like coherent and stay warm. And like, I ended up just sleeping for like 5 hours when I got to Cinder Pit, or kind of just like huddling in the back of like my Toyota, and just like trying to stay warm and give my mind a rest. Um, that to me was the hardest part, like kind of between 1 a.m. and then sunrise on the second night.
Yeah, I started seeing stuff pretty early because I went with the like don't sleep at all strategy for as long as I could. So I slept like a minute or two on night two. And so that was like, I don't know what's that, like 48 hours where I had less than 5 minutes of sleep total. So stuff started getting weird and I was all into it because it's the healthiest way to see stuff. And then from there, I think it was just like this weird, monotonous what is the real world and what is not. Like, especially once it flattens out a little bit, um, especially like around Flagstaff and stuff. And Bryce came out actually and ran with me a little bit of, or decent amount of the course, but it was just like very weird to feel like I'm self-reliant, well, not, like with aid stations, but I like don't have a crew, and it's just trying to get straight what every little thing I need to get from each aid station was. And the longer that I went without sleeping, I think that was more of like a challenge or task, I guess I was putting in my mind. Like, I got to make sure I get this much nutrition before the next one, got to fill up water, things like that. And then when you get more tired, more exhausted, it's like it just becomes more like an anxiety thing. If I hope I don't forget one of these because they're pretty important. So I think it's just the whole nature, and not coming from much of a racing background. I was just like, jump on in, I'll figure it out. I'd go a while without food, but it sure would suck. So let's not mess it up.
No, I should clarify. I said like the second night, but it was actually the third night. So I was in the same boat, I think, as Jeff, where I didn't sleep for more than a couple minutes the first 2 days. And by the time I got to Cinder Pit, would have been the third night, I guess. So same boat as Jeff, is like just trying to freestyle it, figure it out. And yeah, when it hits you in a crazy way.
Yeah, my whole world was like, like just shaking earthquake world. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
I slept a lot. I mean, no, not really.
I went home and got 12 hours of sleep a night.
No, I did sleep like roughly an hour 40 like during the whole race, but I broke it up into like two 20-minute naps. So a 20-minute nap first day, 20-minute nap second day, and then an hour the last day. But so I was pretty lucid mentally. I think the physical part for me was just, which people won't really have to experience this year, was going up Kasner. I think that was the crappiest part. Sedona is great. It's got beautiful single track, except for that airport loop, which I don't really care much for.
I think that was also cut this year.
If you know, you know. Yeah, once you hop off that single track on, the old course on the fire dirt roads and then go up from Black Tank, that stretch going to Tut Hill is just very exposed and very hot. And, they've recently had a fire, but they had a previous fire there too. So they were really, you're trying to find shade under burnt trees, and it's just a long stretch until you can get into the Tut Hill area. And by that point, again, you're in day 3 or 4 or whatever it is, and it's just, it's just repetition at that point. You're just the miles are becoming easier to run, but at the same time, that's when you can start getting more tired. You're using the same muscles over and over and over. You're not getting as much switch up. So, but
Peter, were you pretty happy with your sleep strategy of breaking it up into like 20-minute naps, or do you feel like you would change that?
Each time I've done one of these races, I've tried to tweak it a little bit. I think my first 200 I slept 3.5, and my second one I slept 2.5, and this last one even less. And I've gotten, I've done well at most of them that way. It's just kind of finding a nice balance. I don't think I've seen guys go no sleep or as little as possible, and some people handle it better than others. I'm not one of those people. I like just a little power nap, and then it just kind of gives me enough to go. I don't want to end up one of those people in the forest talking to like Coca-Cola bottles, 3 a.m. People are watching my GPS tracker like, what is he doing?
Yeah. And I think last year it was like that, like sleep, if you're trying that sleepless strategy combined with like, there is some dehydration stuff that went on last year.
Sure.
It's like a pretty potent combination that, can lead to some of the best DNFing.
Yeah.
Are you going to go with your minimalist sleep strategy again this year, Jeff? Or are you changing things up?
Well, as all my ex-girlfriends will say, I'm not really a planner. So I'm just going to just ride this one out and see how things feel.
I like it.
But I think for sure that first night, no sleep. You got to get to where you can see some stuff. That's when it's cool.
Yeah.
What do you think, Drew? Were you happy with your sleep strategy, or would you have changed it, recommend people sleep more earlier?
Let's see. If I could have just taken a nap at Cinder Pit Aid Station last year, which again, I know isn't on the course this year, I think that would have been really helpful for me because I was just struggling to stay lucid after that point. I think that was maybe a no sleep aid station last year. I'm not totally sure if they had like a cot or something there. But if I could have just taken a nap there, I think it would have been okay. Also, that was going from Sedona, that really hot Kasner section, to like more of a Flagstaff elevation. So it's super cold. I think if I could have taken a nap and done some smarter layering, I would have been okay or been better. So yeah, there's definitely room for improvement there. I would have done it differently and had a pacer for the third night. Would have been super helpful. I was alone for the third night, which didn't bode well for me necessarily.
The good news about these races is you can literally sleep anywhere.
Yeah,
you don't have to wait till you get to the sleep station. But
yeah, once you get up by Sedona North, there's so many pine needles and they're so soft.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are there any, aside from the sleep that we kind of already talked about, is there anything else that you would do differently this year if you were going to do it again? Or in your case, Jeff, is there anything you're going to plan to do differently from last year?
Probably chug a bunch of water before the race. I don't know if anyone ended up at the 50K mark, like hydrated. I think everyone was dying. It was, I don't know, it hits you hard quick. And then from there, it's like pretty sweet, but it starts right away. There's so much climbing and stuff. And as the day heats up, that day one, I think I spent all of day two kind of trying to get back to baseline from day one, just from running out of water. I saw people were like laying on the side of the trail in the shade. I would not underestimate that first 50K, because you don't want to get to 220 miles to go feeling like you've used most of your matches up. So I think that's the really big takeaway from last year. I think maybe every single runner entered that first 50K segment a little bit unprepared, and I think we all suffered from it.
Yeah, the word I've heard is, I think last year the recommendation was to take 3 liters of water, and what I'm hearing from people this year is 4 to 5 is more closer to what you need. And there is going to be a water drop along that section this year, where last year you had to go, I think, for 22 miles with no access to water, which was challenging.
Yeah, I did that section a week or two ago, and just last year I took 3 liters and ran out a few miles, from the aid station, and those last few miles to the aid station are also like where you get most of the climbing, because you keep thinking like, there's no way I'm going to hit 10,000 feet. There's no way, and then like it just keeps coming and coming, and then you keep going down so you can go up some more, and I took 3.5 liters, 2 weeks ago, and I managed to ration it out to I ran out like a quarter mile from where the aid station would have been, and that was with a nice cool breeze. So I would not do this race with anything less than 4 liters. It's going to be that much hotter, and if you're lucky, you get a cool breeze, but that doesn't happen very often in this state.
You start with a really hard 50K and then you go for 3 more days. So
yeah.
it's a really cool way to start the race, but man, like that sets the tone for everything your body can do for the next few days. So at the beginning, there's no reason to try anything crazy out there.
No reason to push the pace early on, for sure.
No.
Well, if you want to win, maybe.
Even then,
not.
probably not.
No, look at last year. Yeah, there's some drop hard.
I think that the first 11 is very runnable, and I think it's worth trying to get through that section as fast as possible. I mean, not obviously, you still got a long way to go, but trying to beat a little bit of the heat just getting there, and then loading up, and I would just go into full hike mode at that point. I would become, try and be as efficient as possible, just going up and down, because it's incredibly technical. The downhills are not really that runnable. You can kind of, rock hop and everything, but there's just a chance that you're going to roll an ankle or stab yourself or something on a rock or a cactus, and snakes. Lots of snakes.
Yeah. Anything else that you would do differently, Peter?
I don't know. I think overall I was pretty happy. I mean, that first part of the race was tough, and I keep thinking, I could have done this better. I probably would have tried to chase Drew and Mike out, and that if I could have done that and then maintained a little bit better, I probably would have, I could have had a better result, or I could have done a lot worse. So either way you look at it, I mean, it's in the past now, and but it's risky. You go out, try and get out of there too fast, and you're risking what you're going to have for the other the next few days. And I was just trying to be as conservative as possible. Again, I've run 200 miles a couple times before. 250, it's an extra 50 miles on there. I had no idea of what to expect.
So we have to dive into this. Do you think the puke and rally is a good strategy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I stand by my decision.
Absolutely. No, I support the rallying. I mean, I just want everyone to know you can puke and rally at mile 37, 35, whatever. Oh yeah. And you still got a great race ahead of you.
Yeah.
I think that's the lesson to take away.
Yeah.
You can be near death on that first 50K.
I know.
You got 220 miles to turn that whole week around.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs, For me, that's the one thing I will say when people come out of that basin and, get to the aid station, just do not gorge yourself on, it's hard not to, on all the water, because that's what made me puke. It's just, it's like, been out there for days. It's been about 10 hours or whatever it is. It's not days, but feels like it. And, especially with Crown Kings, 4 miles down the road, you just have a little bit when you get out of the basin there, and then cruise on down and try and get some of your composure back. And I definitely took my time at Crown King, just to get it back, because after that it's gravy. I feel like if anyone can make it to Crown King and feel pretty good, then they're gonna have a real positive race.
Yeah, run 37 miles. The next 220 take care of themselves.
Yep. That's right.
Drew, anything that you would do differently if you were going to run the race again?
I think two things kind of stand out. I think maybe not leading at into Crown King in your first race over 100 miles.
Hey, but you look good, man. I was watching you.
I mean, I felt super good on that first 50K for like for whatever reason. I don't know if it was just being hydrated and just doing enough running in the canyon with like steep vert earlier in the year. But for whatever reason, that 50K wasn't like super defeating to me. In hindsight, I wonder if taking that 30-ish miles easier would have allowed me to run better for the rest of the course. I didn't feel super bad doing it. But yeah, who's to say? Also, for Cocodona last year, I cooked a ton of food and put it in a cooler that was kind of in the crew vehicle. And I didn't touch any of it for like the whole race. Like all of it was super repulsive, except for like fruit cocktails, like juicy, wet, delicious, like cold fruit. I think being out there being like really parched and like thirsty, but also needing something solid, like the only palatable thing to me for almost 3 days, other than that pizza at Tuthill, was like little fruit cocktail cups. And they were so good, like just in all the heat. But I'd been keeping like a journal on like every 50K or long run I did, especially in the heat before. Or not like a journal, but like I'd do like voice memos on my phone on these long runs, and I'd record what I was craving on that run, and like kind of cooked those things to bring with for Cocodona. But just my general nausea from that much running and not sleeping kind of caught up with me, and I just couldn't get down. Like I think I just had like bacon and like bean roll-ups, like the bean avocado ones you might see at some longer Aravaipa races. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't get any of that food down. Other than like fruit cocktails were just amazing for 3 days. So yeah, I guess I'd try something different. Maybe a less aggressive start, and then leaning more into things like that are really kind of wet, like applesauce and fruit cocktails and stuff like that, that are really satiating in that like hot, dry desert environment for days and days.
That's a great lead into kind of the next question I wanted to ask you actually is about nutrition strategy, and I love that idea of the fruit cocktail cups, and I think I'm going to add that to my shopping list because I can see that working out like really well, because sometimes it's just that you don't want something that's dry when your mouth's dry, and then you got to take in a lot of water with it, and it's like you're trying to choke it down. um, how about Peter and Jeff, nutrition strategy that you used last year? And
I'll let you go, Peter. Someone's at my door. I just got 5 seconds. Sorry.
Okay.
no worries.
Go for it.
You know, the heat definitely it got me early on. My nutrition the first 100 miles, I think I consumed maybe like 1,200 calories. I couldn't keep anything down, so I was really relying on liquid nutrition. My body, I just slowed it down and really just tried to run off, my own, caloric, body, what I got on tap, and it really worked for me. Once I was able to get to Mingus, I was able to eat some hot dogs, and that's when I knew. I was like, okay, now I can throw down. Once you can get food down, that's it. So just try and run efficiently as possible, and a lot of it is the heat and just slowing your pace down to try and get those calories down. So I would definitely keep it super simple definitely for the first day or so. Try and I wouldn't go with like a big burger or anything like that from Crown King, and I would just really just kind of have some liquid nutrition on tap, and if you feel good, you feel good. But I don't think there were a lot of people feeling great last year.
Didn't seem like it on that first day.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeff?
Yeah,
Nutrition.
I went very basic day one, and then from there kind of opened it up slowly, but it was very much like I guess I, over the course of Cocodona, fell in love with, I probably ate like 50 Stroop waffles. So they just were working and I just kept going with it. Because I think something like that is the more variables you throw in, the more like pressure points of things that could go wrong. So it was like, oh, they're working, I'm eating them, I'm doing like a bite at a time every few minutes or something, and just kept it rolling. Sometimes at an aid station, I might have the food or something, or especially like a soup with some sodium or something. But between aid stations and while moving, kept it super basic. My stomach felt really good throughout. There was a little bit of a concern, but kind of everything, you have a couple tools in your bag, which is kind of what you want for everything. Like maybe it's like Pepto Bismol or Imodium if things are going south, but you just want little things that are like, something's going wrong. Okay, what am I going to do in this moment that might make it better in an hour? Like, as long as you're actively working on like pain points or problems, and I'm used to multi days out there where I have no access to things, you just want as many little tools in your bag that are as much psychological as they are actually like gonna work. Like, okay, my stomach's a mess, I got this in my bag just in case, or I can take it now, it's gonna improve. You know what, from that moment it might improve just thinking it will. Like, it's so mental once you get deep in that it was like, sure, I'll eat a quesadilla at mile 150 or something because it sounds amazing and I'll feel like better eating it. But if it goes wrong, I got some tools in my bag to combat this thing.
Yeah, I would go with seltzers too. I think that's seltzers at the aid stations were great because they're refreshing and they're alcoholic seltzers, even better. Have a couple White Claws.
Numb the pain, right?
That's right. I mean, you're out there for days, so it's like, screw it.
So I know you guys already mentioned a little bit about seeing some snakes out on the course. Any other wildlife that you encountered during the race, or would you see rattlesnakes, other kinds of snakes, or any other wildlife?
I saw some, I think, deer and elk when I was up in Flag. That's pretty par for the course up there. Yeah, snakes and some tarantulas that night. So that was pretty much it for me. No mountain lions.
No mountain lions. Okay, good. I'm hoping not to see one.
Yeah, I run at night in grizzly bear country, so I think the wildlife is pretty understated maybe. But I mean, the deer and elk are amazing. I think deer at dawn and in the morning are one of the coolest parts of the course, because with 250 miles you get so spread out that for periods you're kind of on your own and you're seeing like nature wake up, right? But like 30 minutes before sunrise, the birds are chirping, like deer are around, there's elk and stuff. And I think that's the coolest thing. You get to do that like 3+ times on the course, is see this, like, it's not their energy or the birds, it's like your energy comes back every time that sun comes up. You're hallucinating the most between like 2 and 5 a.m. probably. But as like that first bird wakes up, as things get going, I don't know. I think that kind of thinking about the wildlife is of like as like a thing on the course is the coolest way, because I don't know, maybe you guys can speak to it too. Like, the nights are really hard, but the mornings are like the best part of every day, because you just have this renewed thing. You're in another day. It's so cool. And I think that's why I spend way too much time and money trying to put myself in these situations where you just get to go from the darkest dark to like the world waking up, and you get to watch it all happen.
Yep.
I don't remember seeing any wildlife while running Cocodona last year. I mean, it may have been there and I just tuned it out, or was too in my head or something. I don't remember seeing a single thing, which is starkly different from running in Sedona. I felt like when I lived there, I would see wildlife constantly on those trails. So I don't know if I've just tuned it out or what. But I do remember running with like Trevor Spike, I think, on the third night for a little bit, and the the Starlink Skytrain was a thing that was like getting put together at that
Oh,
time,
yeah.
like with the satellites,
Oh yeah,
and
that
seeing
was
that
crazy.
in the sky and thinking like
This is
I
first
was losing
contact.
my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my
like
god.
I don't know. Do you guys want to describe like what, visually that was looking like for you guys? I thought I was like just out of my mind, like gonna have a seizure or something. Like,
So it's a linear line of like dots that are solid, but they're like just trailing across the sky in this straight line that came over us, just for anyone who doesn't know what they look like. And I think I saw multiple, I can't really trust my memory during this time, but like I think I saw many of them, and they're just these Starlink things coming
Oh,
over
yeah.
in a straight line, and it's like very choreographed and stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah, there was like
yeah,
9 or 10 of them in a row when I saw them in Prescott right before I got to the Dells. And I told Jordy, my pacer, I'm like, am I hallucinating right now, or are we like those UFOs in the sky?
Yeah.
I had no idea what they were, and for me, it was just the way that they were moving. Again, like very linear pattern, but then like as soon as you get to the last one, they would just kind of shoot off, and then it was gone.
Gone.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
yeah.
so bizarre.
So, and they didn't look like planes. They looked like either a star or like a UFO, but it was just strangely, like you guys said, linear, where they're all perfectly lined up. And then when it would kind of get to like the edge of a certain part of the sky, they would like spread way out and just like fly. It was insane. I thought I was losing my mind. So that I remember seeing that like very distinctly.
Yeah.
And like, I think maybe Trevor looked it up and we figured out what it was within 45 minutes. But for like, I don't know, a good while, I was,
Yeah,
whew.
I think it was
I
like
thought it was
four.
I thought it was the live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 4 or 5 a.m. I think when I saw it too. I had the same thing. It's just you're kind of just trying to make it to, like you said, see the sun come up, and then then you see that and you're like, all right, I'm already losing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aliens are here. Dang. Not gonna finish what they bomb us.
Yeah.
Well, we're on hallucinations here. Do you want to talk a little bit more about yours, Jeff?
Oh my
Some of the
gosh.
trippy stuff that you saw.
Yeah. Man, all kinds of stuff. Like it starts to shimmer and slither and just move a little bit, and then it progresses to like, I don't know, coming into Flagstaff area or something. Every stump I thought was like an abandoned car in the middle of a field. And at one point, going down this dirt road, which actually took a wrong turn on, I thought like way up ahead, a construction crew was working on paving it, and it was like, well, this is weird. This is gonna mess up the race. And like as I get closer, there's nothing there, and it was just like this weird moment of, okay, I guess this is where I'm at. And like I've hallucinated through a number of things before, but from then it just became this whole battle of like trying to tell myself that some of the things were real or were not, like people sitting on a stump taking pictures or something, and that wasn't real. Like you get closer and your whole mind betrayed everything you actually see when you're close enough to literally put it together. It's a really cool thing as long as you grasp onto what reality probably is and try to deduce what's going to be real and what's probably not going to be there when you get closer.
And that gets harder and harder with less and less sleep.
Yeah, you start feeling like the ground is having an earthquake or something when you can tell by everyone around it's not, but your earth is moving. So.
Did you experience any similar things, Drew or Peter?
I didn't know.
I know you said
I
you were
kinda-
pretty lucid, Drew.
Just the Starling thing. But that was real.
I
It was real.
Yeah.
I had experience kind of similar to Jeff's, and I was really intrigued when I listened to podcasts and people were talking about these really long races. And I was like, whoa, what are these hallucinations like? Because in my mind, I was just like, it must be like a psychedelic hallucination, like really intense and vivid. But in reality, for me, it was more like, it wasn't like psychedelic, like crazy. Like it was just like every tree looked like a person or animal. Like you just get so tired in your peripheral vision, like it can kind of focus in on things like in there, but everything out here, like all the trees you're passing, like up in the pines, they would think, yeah, you're passing like people, or they don't look exactly like a person, but you just start getting so tired that your mind is maybe substituting things that are easier because you're too exhausted to really process your entire vision. So some of the things on the side were just getting blurry, and I think that there was a person up ahead, or like an animal, or I don't know, nothing remarkable, but just like getting pretty confused about what's happening in your peripheral vision.
It's just like a Disney movie mirage or something. You get closer and it's not real, but on the periphery, it could be anything.
Yeah, it was nothing like crazy or overwhelming to me, but yeah, you just get tired, and I think your mind starts being too tired to process stuff, like kind of out here.
Well, maybe my mind's just super weird.
I want to have each of you comment on what was your favorite and what was your least favorite part of the race last year. Have any volunteers that want to
Go
jump
for it,
in?
Drew.
Yeah,
Sure. I mean, I think my favorite thing was finishing. Honestly, getting to the end, something you've been like training for like pretty intensely, and just fixating a lot on like, can I do this? How's it going to work? Getting to that last, like for me, getting to Buffalo Park. Finally, I thought once I got to Eldon, I would be good, and then I just forgot how much stuff there is between like Eldon Summit and then down to Buffalo Park.
Oldham.
Like, yeah, I've run that countless times, but holy cow, that was like 45 minutes of just being like, how are we not there yet? Point being, after Buffalo Park, and especially once you get on that last bit of pavement coming into Flagstaff, like you still have some time, a couple miles to like take it in and just be like, holy shit, this is happening. I'm gonna finish this. Like all this work, all this self-doubt, like this is happening. And from the time I was at Buffalo Park, running it into the finish, and then seeing like my girlfriend and my friends and my coworkers that came over, that's the best. Like it feels amazing. It's super good. That's one of the proudest and most intense finishes I've had in my life, and I'm sure everybody that finishes this year will understand that, like when they finish it, how awesome that is. What was the other part? Least favorite part of the course?
Yeah, what was your least favorite part? It could be of the course or just the race in general.
I don't know. I'm gonna instead of doing a least favorite part, because I don't think I had one, I'm gonna do my second favorite was the hot dogs at Mingus Mountain. Pete talked about them a little bit. If I could ever experience the joy of eating the Mingus Mountain hot dog like that intensely again, it's just so pure and good. I hope everybody, if there's a hot dog out on the course and you eat hot dogs, eat the hot dog, man. Like,
Ooh, wow.
yeah, that's it. So I got
great.
2 positives and no negatives.
I guess I'll allow that.
It feels right.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I don't know. I think one of the coolest things for me was Bryce actually came out spur of the moment and paced me some. And then I found out in order to do it, he parked his car at one place, paced me for like 30 miles, and then hitchhiked back to his car. And I thought it was like the coolest thing to this whole like point to point 250 miles is such an insane idea, but it's so cool. Like the point to point aspect to piecemeal and be part of it. I think that, I don't know, it's such a cool thing to say you're doing, or you did a race that's from Phoenix to Flagstaff. Everyone knows where that's at. And then, so just the people that wanted to be a part of it and the volunteers along the way, like at the aid station before the top of Eldon, the second to last one guy was there and he was volunteering for his birthday. So I was like, I got 5 extra minutes. Crack us open a beer. Let's celebrate your birthday. And it was like all those little moments were so cool. Like for his birthday evening, he wanted to volunteer on an ultra course, like anything. So it was just really cool. It was this wholesome atmosphere where It was everyone wanting to keep going. And with a 250, I think it's a lot different than, my vast racing experience of now like 3 or 4 races. But there was no like cutthroat mentality. Like you all start and maybe it gets more, well, you're surviving the first 50K. And I had so many good conversations with people through that first 30 miles. I got to know people from all over, different backgrounds, different everything. And it's like social hour for the first like 7 hours of the race, because you're all like, I could barely count to 200, so we can't comprehend what's ahead of us. Like, let's get through this part, and then we'll start the racing part later. It's like, yeah, there's so many unique aspects of it that really made it fantastic. I would say the worst part of the race, I don't know. I finished pretty early in the morning, and I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I'd been such mindset, keep going. I love the finish. I love the joy of finishing, but it was like, okay, now it's over. How do I get back to my car at Black Canyon City? Where should I sleep tonight? It was like back to reality. You're so focused on like the next aid station, I think, the entire time, that when your world is opened back up to, I should probably like check my texts or my voicemails or something, like life becomes so much more complicated that maybe like 30 minutes after I finished, it was like, oh yeah, I like have this whole life that I didn't have to listen to when it was singularly focused on Phoenix to Flagstaff. So I don't know, the reality after it's over was kind of shitty.
It's nice to escape from that sometimes, just get out there and not have that connection to the outside world.
One singular goal is such like a magical thing. Like you only have to do one thing, and if you do it, you succeed. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that after each of those races that I've done. It's just like you get in such a mindset of just like moving, and even when I go to sleep right afterwards, like my legs are still sort of moving. Like my sleep, I'm like, it's not great sleep, but you're like, your body's like, I've been doing this for several days. It just needs to keep going. But my favorite part, I think, was like Drew was coming into flag, and when I got to the top of Eldon, I definitely took some time, had some food, and enjoyed my drink before I went down. And like I said, that road going down hurts a little bit at that point, and then the single track leading into Buffalo. But once you hit Buffalo and then you start going down the streets in town, I work in the hospital there, and you run right by it, and some folks knew that by this time people would start realizing there was a huge race going on, and they knew I was doing it, and they saw me run right by the window, and they chased me down to Heritage. I had people running with me down the streets, and it was just that sort of, finish is something that you only really experience in a lot of the European races, bringing it home is always good. So that was definitely my favorite part of the race. Worst part would probably be the airport loop. Screw that loop. I've only ever run it during the race at night, and I never ever want to run that trail again. And then coming down out of Jerome, which I think they've changed too, going through that person's was it mechanic yard? You guys remember that?
An alarm went off when we went through there, and like Jamil was right ahead. He's like, "No, it's fine." It's like, this does not feel good. This is where you get shot.
It was like the sketchiest rocky downhill, and you're like full of like glass and like mufflers and like carburetors, and you're just like, well, I hope I had my tetanus shot recently, because one wrong slip. But I think they fixed that this year, getting down to Clarkdale. So.
Definitely some course improvements.
Yeah.
That's
the thing. First year you gotta work out the kinks.
Yep.
But definitely have that app and that file downloaded, because places like that where it's the right way, but it feels like it might be the wrong way. You just want that reassurance of knowing, oh, yep, this is where it goes.
And I would strongly recommend bringing a backup battery, because I know I was chatting with Dax when We were after the race, and he had left Walnut Canyon, and his phone died. And that area around that section is like a spider web of trails, and you really, really need that map to kind of pull up, make sure you're on course. And he managed to flag down somebody, and was like, she was driving next to him, charging his phone while he was walking down the fire road, just so he could like pull the map back up. So I would definitely have a backup plan.
Yeah. Well, in closing, any advice that you would give to new runners who are taking on this race for the first time?
Yeah.
just do it, man.
Got so much advice.
Make sure you go out as hard as you can.
Yeah, I would say get that first like photography section. You want to be in front because those photos last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Metals
killer,
can wear down, but that digital photography thing, that's going to be perfect for your wall for years to come.
Killer drone footage of you puking over the side of a cliff is always good TV.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, do it for the live stream. I mean, why else does anyone do it, right? So. But more practically, I think I would say if you're all trained up, ready to go do whatever you're currently doing, but do it at night right now. Like the more comfortable you can get with night, the better. I would say there's a lot of good headlamps out there, but I would definitely go with something that lights it up more. The more lit up, you'll feel more awake, more able, and won't have injuries and things. And then the last thing is just have a plan for day one and then take it from there, like whether it's nutrition, whether it's kind of mileage, whether it's whatever, but like give yourself 24 hours. It's a really hard 50K, and then kind of reassess after 24 when you see how your body's doing and piece together how you're going to finish it. But I mean, I'm an under planner. Don't plan too much. You're only destined for it to fail you.
I would piggyback a bit on what Jeff said. Yeah, you're going to spend a lot of time at night and get comfortable with night running. For me, I run with a Kagala. I love my Kagala with a giant battery that I can plug my phone into so that when I'm alone in the dark, I can look at the course and feel better. Or when I've made a wrong turn, as I did in Cocodona last year, you can kind of figure out where you effed up and reassess. Yeah, if you have a sauna near you, get some sauna time in. It's going to help you out. It's going to be hot at some point or another, either in the very beginning or Sedona or, multiple times. The sauna and heat training's your friend. If you want to finish, you're probably going to finish. So think about your why, think about all your whys, and maybe write them down and just really stash them somewhere for when you need them, because you're going to spend a lot of time in that course. So.
Yeah, I would say, find hopefully by now in your training you found like a good running pace, probably slower than your 100 milers or 50 milers, and it's really about kind of recreating that over and over and over. There's so much runnable section of this race, and you really want to find that sweet spot where you can you feel you can go out for 20 miles at a nice pace during one of your training runs and be like, I could run this forever. And that's where you need to be, maybe even a little bit slower. So you can always pick it up on the back end. So and then realize that everyone is there doing in the same boat, just at different times, going through waves of emotions, and but you're all doing the same course. So there is so much time during these races, so much time to make up, and taking an extra 10 or 20 minutes in an aid station early on, could save you hours later.
Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
That's right.
Awesome advice. Thanks, guys, and thanks for joining. Really appreciate having you all on here. And I know a lot of valuable things I've learned from you already that I'm hoping to take into my Cocodona experience, and I'm sure that this is going to be a great benefit to everyone else who's listening as well. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's only 5 50-milers in a row, and then you're good.
There you go.
And then you're done after that.
Just break it
Plus
down
a
into
7 miler
manageable
in there.
chunks.
There you go. And I'm looking forward to seeing you out there on the course in person, Jeff.
Yeah, Yeah, I can't believe I'm doing this again.
You're a better man than I, man.
I mean, I can't believe I get to do this again.
Yeah.
There
Awesome.
you go.
Yeah. And I'll be grilling up on Eldon, so doing my thing. So Pete's Meats.
What's yours? Yeah, meats.
And I'll be commenting on the live stream day 4. So if you guys are still out there,
I'll
Cool.
be
Be chatting it
hallucinated,
up.
attempting to join the live stream as if it's anything like last year. So
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
It's gonna be wild.
thanks guys. I gotta run.
Thank
All right,
you.
good seeing you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for
See ya.
joining.